Welcome to This Girl is on Fire. I am Kathy Connor, your host. Joining me today is the amazing Danielle Lee with Momentum Integrative Health Solutions. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
So, Danielle, tell us a little bit about you, what you like to do, a little bit about your family, your hobbies.
So I'm Danielle Lee, hashtag it didn't crush me. And that is my hashtag. We did trademark that. I'm very proud of that. Um, I am a happily blended family. My husband is the most amazing man on the face of the earth. And I know he chuckles when he hears me say that because we have a really lighthearted, like, we are not like that intense, like, lovey dovey couple. Like, we just have a lot of humor. And our friends love to hang out with us because we just have, like, the funniest banter back and forth. Um, so humor is, like, a huge part of our life, and so we're blended. We are over that really rough period of blending, so we are about almost 7 years in, and now everybody likes each other, everybody likes to be around one another. There's no dread when one's coming home from school or one's coming to visit or we're all going on a family vacation. Like, because I don't know if you've ever been close with a blended family, but I always tell people it is like the biggest, I'm trying to say I have to use an expletive here because it's like the biggest mind fuck you'll ever go through because you get so excited to go into this situation with this person you love and you're like, I love my children and I know I'm gonna love their children. And then you force everybody together and all of a sudden it's like, there's some growing pains here. And so it's like the hugest disappointment ever because you make mistakes, they make mistakes. You're like, how am I ever going to do this? Why did I ever do this? But when you make it on from the other side, it is so beautiful. It is so wonderful. So we are happily blended. We moved from Maryland a few years ago. My husband has two older boys, 21 and 24, and they are absolutely wonderful. And mine is almost 13, and we have four cats. That's just a little bit about me, but it's kind of a lot.
I love it. Blended families are not easy. I mean, when I married my husband, my stepson is a very important part of our life, as is his wife and our two granddaughters. But they live in Georgia, and we don't see them as often as we would like to see them. So they were already all of our children, my 2 kids were all adults and out of the house, when we met. So it was a little bit easier. However, I do know that blended families is very challenging, and I'm so happy to hear that you made it on the other side because most don't.
Yeah, 74% of second marriages fail, and it's because blending is really, really hard. I
Yes.
mean, imagine my 2, Kyle and Kern, they were, a senior and freshman in high school, and then here comes this little, like, snot-nosed six-year-old into their house. Like, poor guys, like, really, like, literally, Jax was still, like, sneezing on them in the back seat, and they were like, "What the hell is this?" But, no, they text on the phone all the time, and it's a really good feeling,
They're
being on that
close.
side of it, yeah.
I love that. So you were in pharmacy, a pharmaceutical rep.
Pharmaceutical sales. So I always say that I started my grown-up career in the medical field. I didn't really know why I wanted to go into that. I didn't know that I loved science the way I do back then, when you're trying to figure life out, but it was definitely the it job in my 20s. And so I went into pharmaceutical sales, learned a lot about the human body, learned a lot about our healthcare and our medical system. And it was a really, really great job. But I always just kind of like thirsted for more. I've had this dream my whole life of being a self made woman. And I knew that working for the man, you can't do that. I wanted the satisfaction of being able to bring something that I created, that I birthed out into the world. But that industry, like, it gave me such a good foundational understanding of how we really need to put our health in our own hands and not in someone else's. And I was able to kind of get that peek behind the curtain and really use all that knowledge like throughout my whole life. And I have nothing bad to say about it. I think there's a lot of good things that do come out of the pharmaceutical world. Okay, not as many good things compared to the detrimental things, but there are a few things that they have done right. Just a few. But I really can take that knowledge and like apply it now and really help people with their own health.
I love that. And how did you get into integrative health?
So I'm gonna take you back a little bit before that because kind of the burning question is like, where does the hashtag it didn't crush me come from?
Yes, definitely.
And it all started on October 19th, 2018. And it was the morning that I found out I was no longer needed at my job. That's the dreaded phone call that does not feel good, even though I'm sure I manifested it because I was looking for a way out. But of course, we want it on our terms.
Right.
We don't always like that we get what we ask for, and when it's given it to us in a different package, but I found out it was actually the same day that my ex-husband completed suicide. And here's the really interesting thing about that. We didn't know it yet. That was a Friday. Saturday morning, I wake up because I had just that previous night on that Friday introduced my now husband to my son. We were just starting to put families together back then. And I'm in the kitchen making breakfast and I look over and I see Jax, he was little, 5, in his pajamas, sitting on Ken's shoulders, watching cartoons and just playing with Ken's hair, and they both had bedhead, like, on a Saturday morning. Turns out I found out 4 days later that my ex had died the night before, and it was really I was able to see that there was this almost beautiful transition of my ex just stepping out of the way and saying, "Okay, I know you're in good hands. It's time for me to go." And although that's a really ugly story, it was the epitome of what has driven me to become an entrepreneur, and so I did a lot of coaching and healing, not just for myself, but for others, and that's where the hashtag "It Didn't Crush Me" came from. But you realize when you get through all of that healing journey on your own and you realize that you're looking around and you're so grateful and you love this life that you've built, and all of a sudden, your body is starting to hold you back. And it's like, I'm not going to let myself live in a body that's not going to allow me to truly live the way that I want to live. And so I made that pivot. I left the coaching space. I didn't really want to hold the hands anymore of women. I'm happy to honor them. I'm happy to share my expertise. But in terms of one on one coaching, that wasn't what I wanted to do at this place. I recognize that there's such a need for how we can really fix our body. And I look at these health coaches, I look at our medical professionals, and I see people who are metabolically compromised themselves, and they're the ones providing all the information and the guidance. And that didn't make sense to me. So I really wanted to teach people how they can take control of their own health. I wanted to use integrative concepts. And I wanted to use natural concepts to really get people's body working with them again so that they can truly live the life that they want to. And that's really where Momentum Integrative Health was born, is just we were done settling for a body that's holding us back anymore, a body that's not working with us. And it's time to take your body back.
I like that.
And it's just, it's so true. I literally look around and I see so, like 93% of the population is suffering from some form of metabolic dysfunction. And it's not just our choices, it's our food supply, it's the toxins. Everywhere we go, you can spend the bulk of your day trying to fight all of these things, but you can only do so much, right? And we have lives to live. And I know for me, two things that are key in my value system, which also drives whether I'm going to be successful healthy wise or not, is I have to understand that comfort and comfort and convenience are key to me. So comfort and convenience to me are just foundational for my morals. So if it's not easy and if it doesn't make my life easier, it's probably not going to be sustainable. So for me, somebody who has those values, going to the gym and waiting 8 to 10 to 12 weeks to see results, that's not going to work for me. Um, Trying to just suddenly go on a diet and eat completely healthy and meal prep and cut out all the other things, I need something that's convenient. And so we found peptides, and peptides really was that one thing that just unlocked my body metabolically and allowed it to start doing what it's supposed to do, which then prompted me to go spend some time in the gym, to go start making better, healthier meals, because now it was easier to work with a body who's working with me versus working against me. And we do things besides peptides too, but peptides are the one thing that keeps me super busy because they are like the key to unlocking your metabolic health in your body.
Let's talk about the peptides a little bit. So are you feeling how you're more energized? You feel healthier? You give me some examples.
I have more energy. I sleep so much better. My clothes fit better. So I feel more confident. And then I started to look at my overall physique and I thought, I'm starting to look good, but how can I look better? That's where the weights came in. That's where I said, ooh, I want to be strong now. Now, when I started to have that energy kind of bounce back, because my journey started with the GLP-1, and we can talk about a lot of other peptides too, because that's not always what somebody wants to begin with, although it is the biggest game changer for people. When I started to feel better and more energized, the first thing that I did was I ordered the weighted vest. Now, I know that the weighted vest, we know that by wearing a weighted vest, we're going to help add to our bone density because that motion, that extra effort that your body goes through, it does help build your bone. And that's really, really important, especially for women going through midlife. So for me, kind of that catalyst was starting to shed the weight, getting a little energy, starting to move my body, taking 3 walks a day instead of one. I don't need to spend an hour out walking, but if I can go 10 minutes, 3 different times, that's so much better for me metabolically, and it was also something that was doable because then it gave me 3 periods of my day to kind of de-stress, to go out, to get some green therapy, to just take a beat and regroup.
I love that. And I know you shared a cardiologist and his findings regarding I shared with you with high cholesterol, and you mentioned that one of your products plays a huge part in reducing the cholesterol levels.
100%. So I will tell you that in my years of doing coaching and healing, I completely pivoted to where I felt I needed to be 2 feet in the all natural bucket. So I left everything that I knew about pharmaceuticals. I left everything that I knew about the human body. And I said, no, they have to be wrong about all of that because it's technically synthetic and the big pharmaceutical companies are so, so bad. And people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So let's just go do it the natural way. But when I was doing it the natural way and I was trying the powders and the potions and I was trying to get my body to heal itself, I was gaining weight. I wasn't losing anything. My sugar cravings did not go down. My sleep really wasn't getting any better. And I'm also watching the other people in those industries have that same experience. So, as my husband had been taking a GLP-1, he was prescribed one. I did the thing that everybody else does. I'm like, "You're gonna die from this." Now, did I take the time to do the research that I know I have access to? No. It was just easier to shame him into saying like, "You just wanna do it the easy way. Look at me, like, I'm trying really, really hard and I'm struggling." Like, there's a trophy for, like, whoever suffers the most at the end of it. There's no trophy, PS. It's just our own misery. So why are we so committed to the belief, and I think this goes back to, like, younger conditioning when we're little, like, "Oh, if you want something, you have to work really, really hard at it," right? Like, only good things come if you work really, really hard. Well, what if it doesn't have to be? Because I've done the hard. I did the hard burying an ex husband via suicide. I did the hard blending a family. I did the hard by explaining to a 12-year-old how his dad chose to leave this earth. I don't want to do the hard with my body anymore. And so, understanding that a peptide is something that your body naturally makes, and insulin in and of itself is a peptide. And so if your body naturally makes this, and as we age, we make less of it, that's life, right? But we have the opportunity to reintroduce it to our body with very, very few side effects, very, very few contraindications, very few ways to kind of screw it up. There's something to that. So what I did is I listened to a cardiologist speak about this, and he was talking about using GLP-1s. I know, right? Even for like people in their 70s and 80s. And I'm like, okay, I need to hear this because when I think GLP-1, I was thinking the Ozempic face, the saggy skin, the loss of muscle, the hollowed out skin, people going, reading the headlines of people going into the hospital. And while those things happen, I can come back and explain a lot of the reasons why those things happen. This cardiologist was saying that he really likes it because it helps with ejection fraction. It helps improve HRV, which is heart rate variability, which, the rate of which our heart rate rests. We want to have a strong heart rate variability. It helps improve resting heart rate. We've learned that there was a study that came out that GLP-1 actually helps reduce your risk of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And so I started going down the rabbit hole. I'm like, this is amazing. Why is nobody talking about this? Because the headlines sell more papers, sell more subscriptions, or whatever that is talking about all the people who want to do it the easy way and they're having all of these problems.
Doom and gloom,
It
basically.
is, right. Cynical themselves. It's like that misery loves company. I'm miserable. I'm suffering the most. Why are they doing it easy? So here's kind of what I did is so when I started my own GLP-1 journey and when I started learning about peptides in general, because I have the pharmaceutical background and I understand supply chain, I understand pharmaceutical manufacturing, and that's on the branded side. I wanted to look and see what the compounding industry is doing, and it's really quite interesting. We all assume, and this is just people giving away their power, right? To a pharmacist, to an attorney, to a doctor, to somebody who's had more schooling than them. We just assume that they always know better. So, your doctor, when prescribing a compounded medication, and a lot of these products are compounded because most insurances, unfortunately, aren't going to cover them for weight loss. So, you're paying $1,200 for a month is what the insurance wants you to pay for these weight loss meds, whereas you can get them compounded for a lot less expensive. And the compounding industry is there to help change the delivery system of medications, to adjust dosing to make it more user friendly for the patient, to bring in some in between doses to reduce side effects and those things. So within the compounding industry, there are regulations and standards. I do want people to understand that. But there's two routes. There's 503A, and 503A is the place that all your doctors are getting and they're sending your prescriptions to give you a compounded medicine. That 503A pharmacy is governed by each state's board of pharmacy. The problem is they're not being regularly checked, meaning they're not being third party tested. The fact of the matter is, 90% of compounding pharmacies, when third party tested, they fail those audits. They fail for things like improper storage techniques. They fail things for too much humidity in the product or in the solution. They fail things for source raw material not being as pure as it should. And what that really ends up meaning for the end user, you as the customer, the client who's just getting a med from their doctor, it means many times you're getting a less potent, watered down product because they do have that flexibility to create it. They're doing chemistry. And if they don't choose to match pharmaceutical grade potency, you as the end user don't know that, but you're really getting shorted. And the doctors know this. They kind of don't care because they all contract with two or three different pharmacies. And they all know that of those two or three different pharmacies, there's usually one that they like the best, but there's product shortages and there's costs associated. So sometimes they use other pharmacies and they know one's the best, but they just say it's still safe. It's not going to hurt you. But are you getting the best product that you possibly can? No. So, learning all of that, I found out that there is yet another level of accreditation within this 503A pharmacy chain where these pharmacies choose to be third party tested. That source raw material product is third party tested, and they have to match potency because these pharmacies do open their doors to be tested all of the time. And so you get a much higher grade product, which means you can usually take less product for more efficacy. And that's the type of pharmacy I stand behind. And that's the entire pharmacy channel that we use in our telehealth platform via Momentum Integrative Health Solutions. So I know that was a lot. And for me, I totally geek out on like supply chain and that means something. These are not inexpensive products. So I want my clients getting the best product and I also want them to understand that just because it comes from a doctor doesn't mean that you're getting the best product.
Right. Well, I agree with that 100%. Let's shift gears a little bit. You did hear that we're supposed to find out the cause of autism today.
That's interesting. I thought that was kind of a little bit of a big promise, but I do love that our president loves to speak bigly, right? Because that certainly grabs the interest versus if he were to dumb it down a little bit, maybe less people would be watching. So I saw a little something that they are tying acetaminophen use during pregnancy,
Tylenol?
Tylenol, to autism. Um, so I'll be really curious. I think that that conference is happening this afternoon. But I'll be curious what else they have to say about that.
That's interesting. Especially the rate has been increasing in terms of what is it, 1 in 10? Especially is geared more towards the boys and girls, but some girls can obviously ended up getting autism, but it's mainly boys. 1 in 10 I heard.
There's clearly something to it because our nation is getting more and more obese, even though we have tools to go the other way. We know better. We know to do better. We can't seem to do better. We are getting sicker. Autism rates are climbing. And it's interesting. I haven't spent a ton of time going down the autism rabbit hole or even the vaccine rabbit hole, other than to know that I just know that there's really not a whole lot that I really need that my body doesn't already make. And so we are not a heavily vaccinated family. Um, I like the fact that we have people with some common sense and looking at real science and real statistics to make a change in our healthcare system. And that's really why this was the right time for me to create Momentum Integrative Health Solutions.
Right. Well, I love what you're doing. You're making a difference in the lives of many. And that's definitely a "this girl's on fire" moment, so I love it.
1000%. I think too, it's like knowledge is power, right? We go to the doctor every year to see if we're okay. That doesn't make sense to me. And so what we do is we're launching a metabolic health webinar soon, and we're going to title it the Energy Blueprint, right? And it's kind of going to be a pretty comprehensive webinar because I'm going to take people through like the origins of our healthcare system, the origins of our medical system, kind of why it is the way it is. Because if you don't understand why it is the way it is, you're less likely to ask the questions and you're less likely to feel empowered to advocate for yourself and the doctor.
Right.
I interview my doctors. We've already been through two here locally since moving, and I'm happy with the third that I found who does practice concierge medicine. The challenge with concierge medicine is it's super expensive.
Very.
And we're all paying out the wazoo for our insurance anyway. So I like to tell people and show people the things that they can do outside of their doctor's office, things that they can pay for if they're already paying for doctor's visits out of pocket due to high deductible plans, and show them the tools that they can invest in so that they can truly take that ownership at home of their health, specifically their metabolic health. I don't work with the client who is super ill and who really does need to be under a doctor's care. I can work alongside a doctor's care, but typically my client comes to me because they're interested in longevity, they're interested in taking their health just to the next level. They're like, I'm getting to the point where the doctor might want me to be on a statin or on some blood pressure medicine. What can I do that I don't need to take the synthetic meds for? And I'm like, yes, this is exactly. We have a lot of different options for you.
What about heartburn?
Heartburn linked to a lot of sugar and diet.
Is
We
this
we
something your product helps with?
Specifically, if we fix the gut, BPC 157/TB 500, it is this wonderful combination of a peptide, super safe. It is what's the word? It does promote angiogenesis, which means rapid growth in your body. And so you do need to be cautious if you have history of cancer. In fact, a lot of doctors will not prescribe it unless your oncologist clears you. And it's really interesting because in that space, there's kind of two philosophies in the oncologist world. First of all, number one, you need to have an oncologist who's actually trained in peptides and who has done the research, because then you're at least getting an accurate recommendation from someone.
Right.
Most doctors don't take the time because they don't have the time, not because they don't want to, but because they don't have the time to learn and research about peptides. So 90% of them will just say, if they don't know anything about it, stay away from it, because they will not recommend something that they don't know anything about. But back to this philosophy about um, the oncology world and BPC 157 or anything with angiogenesis is the one side is, listen, if your cancer is going to come back, and we're doing routine lab tests on you, whether it's every 6 months or every year, you have the option to potentially catch it sooner with that rapid growing cell growth due to angiogenesis versus maybe something lying dormant longer because it's just lingering and not really growing. So I have a lot of people that are on that side of the fence going, no, I'm okay taking these products post cancer. Actually, my body is healthier. All of my labs look better, and I'm willing to take that risk because I know I'm going to uncover it sooner. Versus the other side of the argument is like, I just don't want to take that risk. And that's really such a personal choice. But that's the only downside to BPC 157. It heals your gut. Fixes it heals joints. It's great for post-surgical recovery. It is literally just like the one key that it's like the master key that unlocks so many things in your body.
Let's talk gut for a minute. It's from everything that I'm reading, most of our ailments that happen start from the gut. What are your thoughts on that?
So I spent a lot of time being certified in gut health. Your gut brain axis is a thing. Your gut brain heart axis, it's really a loop. It's all connected. Your second brain sits in your gut. So we always joked because when I was taking this training, it was just post COVID, right? And I'm like, the only thing you want woke is a woke gut, meaning you want a lot of different bacteria, a lot of diversity of bacteria in your gut, and you want a lot of abundance of it. But the problem is when you have stress cortisol and life is stress, right? Like if we don't know how to regulate that cortisol, or if our cortisol switch just stays on due to our level of stress, and our lack of ability to regulate our nervous system, if that switch stays on, it is activating that bad bacteria in your gut. And what those, I think of them like the angry little minions, like, when they turn like purple and they get crazy, it's like those bad bacteria. What are they craving? They're craving starches, they're craving straight up sugar, and starches turn to sugar. So it you end up with this overgrowth of, I say, bad bacteria. And I'm not saying bad in terms of bacterial infection. I'm saying bad in terms of it does nothing good for your body. And then it starves out that good bacteria. So it really does, everything goes back to your gut. Peptides, GLP-1s are great for the gut. BPC 157, great for the gut. NAD plus, great for the gut. All of these things are super foundational in healing. There's another thing too that we missed the boat on is everybody knows you should take an omega-3 supplement. The problem with an omega-3 supplement is by the time it is farmed and it needs to be purified to take the toxins out and the heavy metals and all the things, it's stripped of any of its good properties. It's also stripped of the one protected little thing that every omega-3 is found in nature with, and it's always protected by a polyphenol. I always say it's like a little like hot pocket, like the inside is the omega-3 and the outside, like the dough around the outside is the polyphenol. And when you're purifying, the omega-3 gets stripped of that. That destabilizes the omega-3. Plus we're taking oral formulations, and oral formulation of it, it really gets obliterated in the gut and you get very little rate. So the WHO has actually declared a worldwide omega-3 deficiency crisis. How can this be when everybody is told you should be taking an omega-3 supplement or a fish oil supplement or whatever that is, plus eat a lot of good olive oil? So there is a company out there that has been doing testing on your omega-3 levels, and they also test your omega-6 because that's something that your body needs. It does not make, so you must take it. Same thing with omega-3. Your body needs it. Your body does not make it. You must take it. And if you have too much omega-6 due to seed oils, due to fried foods, due to the antibiotics and hormones in our meats and all of the things due to just eating, right? Life, then you have way too much omega-6, which is inflammatory and not enough anti-inflammatory omega-3. And so right now, the only product that we've been able to research and find on the market is a Norwegian product, and it is called a balance oil because it's a combination of a high dose omega-3 with polyphenol added into this olive oil because this pre-ripened olive out of this region in Spain, see, I love all this nerdy stuff. This pre-ripened olive has the same polyphenol index as what's found in nature in the cold water fish. And so when we test you at baseline and we look at your omega-3 ratio and we're doing an entire profile of your 11 different fatty acids, we test you at baseline, you take the oil for 4 months, we test you again 4 months later because I don't want people taking supplements on a hope and a prayer that it's supposed to do something. We find that 95% of people who have taken that over that course of 4 months are back into balance. Their omegas are up, their omega-3s are up, their omega-6s are down, and their other, like the DHA, um, the EPA, all of that is in a much more healthy range as well. So you're not having to take multiple different supplements because your omega-3 is just a waste. You can just toss it right out.
So, Danielle, I've heard cortisol has a major impact on the body. Can you share a little bit about that and the effects on the body, and then maybe how your products can help with that?
Absolutely. I mean, cortisol, it's a necessary hormone within our body. When we talk about hormones, we tend to think only of like the sex hormones, right? We're thinking about midlife and perimenopause and such. But cortisol is a stress hormone and it's something that we need. We need it to come on during a heightened stressful situation. But the problem is for most of us, that switch, that trigger just stays on and it does not come down. We should have a cortisol spike first thing in the morning, which is very natural. Then that will also play into our blood sugar levels, right? And like how our insulin resistance is working because most of us do become less insulin resistant, more insulin resistant the older we get. But cortisol plays a part of that. And so if we don't do things to regulate our nervous system, if we don't know how to tactically do that, if we have grown up in a world where we've never dealt with our emotions and we've had to push them down, your nervous system is going to be wrecked. Your cortisol responses are always going to be high. That cortisol is also going to activate all of that bad gut bacteria that makes you crave the carbs, that makes you crave the sugars, that makes you crash from all of the over sugaring of your body. And so again, this is another place where GLP-1s are amazing to help regulate that because they work through the pancreas and they help to regulate overall insulin sensitivity and helps to bring that insulin level down, which is a direct response of cortisol. And so obviously there's a lot of natural things you can do working through nervous system regulation, but not everybody has that background. So you need to be taking something to do that. And it starts with building that gut resilience. It really starts in the gut. If you are somebody, and I can tell when people are inflamed, when they're puffy, when there's a lot of not just systemic inflammation, but cellular inflammation, because those are two different types of things. My protocol for them would be definitively let's do a blood test, let's get your omega 6 and 3 levels down, and then that's foundational nutrition. Unless you prefer to start the other route with a peptide, and we can do GLP-1 microdose if you don't need to lose weight. If you have some weight that you would like to release, we could do a regular weight loss dose of GLP-1. So I really allow my clients to choose, like, do you want to start foundationally with the nutrition? Do you want to start on the peptide side? Because ultimately they go together. Anybody who I put on a GLP-1, I want them on my foundational nutrition. And besides the balance oil, it's really, really important to focus on fiber. Fiber in your gut is so good, and we as a society, we just don't get enough fiber, and you have to be a little careful because it can cause some tummy upset, some bloating, so low and slow, but it is the one key that also does help to regulate that cortisol as well.
You are a wealth of information, Danielle. What a pleasure it's been.
I'm like such a science nerd, but I love teaching about these things.
How can someone contact you if they need to ask some advice or maybe they want to ask some questions regarding the products, many products that you offer?
So if you want to get in contact with us, just go to momentumintegrativehealth.com, and there's a fun little survey right there on the homepage. You can learn all about your current metabolic health. I'll give you a health recommendation. And at that point, you can also choose to book a call with us. You could get on our wait list for the men's hormone testing and TRT that we have coming out in the next few months, and also women's hormone testing and HRT is going to be coming out soon because there have been an awful lot of shifts and changes in the guidelines regarding hormone health. And it's really, really important that people get the right information.
I love it. Danielle, thank you so much for being on This Girl is on Fire. And until next time, keep that fire burning.